All right, actress Scarlett Johansson is speaking out after the top AI company in the country announced it would stop using a voice on its newest version of ChatGPT that sounded just like the actress. In a statement, Johansson said the entire situation left her shocked, angered, and in disbelief. Let's take a listen together to this voice in question.
Hey, ChatGPT, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking.
Okay, so there you heard it. Our Emmanuel Saliba and Elizabeth Schulze are joining me now for more. And that's just sort of a little snippet of it, right? Emmanuel, is this is actually her voice? It's not, right? What more do we know here?
Well, what we know, thanks to the actress who released this statement, she says that OpenAI approached her months ago about using her voice on a new feature they were going to release called voice mode, which allows users to interact with ChatGPT much in the way that they would a Siri or an Alexa. After some thought, she said she refused that offer. They approached her again just 2 days before the release. She didn't have time to respond. And then in this statement, she says she was surprised when she heard the voice, and even her families and friends couldn't tell the difference between her voice and the voice of this ChatGPT called Sky.
Right, her family and friends are calling her, thinking that it's her. And Elizabeth,
Exactly.
to you, I mean, this is exactly what worried a lot of people about AI. You, I'm sure, remember it was a major sticking point out here in Hollywood with those strikes. What does this do for the trust or the lack thereof in this AI industry?
It is exactly what a lot of those strikes were about, Kana. It wasn't just from the actors and actresses. It was from the producers, the writers, this fear that artificial intelligence would be used to replace their jobs, but also that it would be used to then supplement in a way that you don't really know what's real and what's done by a machine or what's done by an algorithm, what's done by technology. Interestingly, the union actually that was behind the strike came out and said they support OpenAI taking down this voice. I mean, I think one of what is really interesting about this story too, Kana, is that OpenAI came out and said it actually interviewed hundreds of people for this job. So what this really underscores is the lack of clarity, the lack of guardrails about what is the standard for a situation like this. We're seeing companies self-police themselves. Companies come out, say they're doing what's right based on their own standards, when there isn't really a standard that they should all be abiding by at the same time.
Right, there's no bar to be met or to fall below at this point as everyone is navigating AI. And Emmanuel, as if that voice clip wasn't enough, right? OpenAI chief Sam Altman, he tweeted just the one word, her, recently. And so for people that are paying attention, that of course is a reference, right, to a movie by the same name where Johansson actually played this AI voice assistant. It's my understanding it was also Sam Altman's favorite movie, right?
And Scarlett Johansson did mention that in her letter about how surprising that was. But OpenAI says that is not her voice. That's the voice of another voice actress, another actress. As Elizabeth mentioned, the OpenAI said they interviewed hundreds of voice actors and worked with their representatives. But again, just as we've been saying, this just illustrates the lack of guardrails and the need for a federal legislation, which Scarlett Johansson mentions in her letter. You know, this is an ongoing theme with artists, actors, musicians, visual artists, the need to protect their talents, whether that be their voice, their digital likeness, their art. And so we're just seeing a growth in calls for federal legislation that would protect them and their art.
Yeah, it sounds like they said they interviewed they went over 400 submissions and selected 5 different voices here, but still a stunning moment there for Scarlett Johansson. Elizabeth, of course, this all comes as we're learning that the U.S. is forming this global AI safety network with key international allies as well. What exactly does that mean?
Right, so Kana, this was an announcement today by the Commerce Secretary, Gina Raimondo, essentially that the U.S. wants to partner with other economies, countries in Europe, Japan. A lot of this is the U.S. going to its allies and saying, how can we try to work together within the existing framework of the law to try to say that we are committed to rules around artificial intelligence? But really the undertone there is the threat posed by other governments, especially when you think of China. We've also seen a push in Congress to invest in legislation that could combat some of China's investments in AI too, Kana.
All right, that is so interesting. Elizabeth and Emmanuel, thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate it.